Each industry, each business, not just real estate investment trusts or the real estate industry in general, has sort of a stewardship responsibility to protect natural resources.
Joining me today is Kimberly Pexton, Vice President Sustainability with JBG SMITH. You were on a REITworks panel focused on net zero in practice. To start, what do you see as most important reasons for a REIT to set a defined net zero strategy?
It's important to sort of lean into this existential challenge that we're all faced with. Each industry, each business, not just real estate investment trusts or the real estate industry in general, has sort of a stewardship responsibility to protect natural resources. Ultimately, it is a situation where everything around us is not possible without natural resources, and leaning in and really doing our work to protect those particular elements ultimately protects our business, fortifies our business against climate change realities. And while we may not all believe or know the path to get there, we all really need to lean into this challenge and do our best to kind of piece the puzzle together and land on the solution that is viable for each of our businesses.
How should a REIT go about identifying and setting goals and then establishing a timeline to meet them?
Really, in the very basic sense, data is your friend. The more data you have, the more that you can analyze that particular data, and inevitably there are things that arise out of that analysis of the data that present your solutions and inform solutions. So really, fundamentally, the first thing for folks to do is to gather the information relative and relevant to their carbon footprint, which for REITs is electricity, natural gas, refrigerants that are used in buildings, et cetera, and so forth. And understanding what your total footprint is will start to bring light and give light to the areas that you need to focus on in order to start setting targets and making sort of that net zero or carbon neutrality achievement viable.
What are some liabilities or other issues that companies should keep in mind regarding their commitments?
I think some of the things, right now the industry is in a place where I believe that net zero seems like a very scary place. And how are we going to get there? How do you do this? Some organizations may be thinking, well, I don't have a large, elaborate team and a deep bench of capacity in order to really figure this out. And I would say that don't be afraid of the commitments. We need those commitments to push the industry forward. So that's one angle. The other is that there is some reputational risk that folks are kind of leery of. Well, we're going to set a target, and the target is 2050. That's much longer. I mean, I know I'll be retired by that point, and probably a lot of other people too. So there's sort of like this discussion around accountability and how will that commitment, what will it look like, and how will it survive the decades? That's something that everybody's grappling with. So fear surrounding that hopefully that will make people feel better. But the other reality of that, though, is that if you do make a public announcement like that, especially with the SEC and the various requirements that are pending and on the table at the moment, there is some shyness, I would say, around, okay, if we publicly state this, then the SEC is going to require us to really put meat on the bones. Not that people don't want to put meat on the bones, but I do think that people will want to really understand how they're going to get there first before they start making those public announcements.